Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome to a quick video. Today we are going to be doing something that a lot of owners dread, probably don't know how to do. There's a few videos already out there, but one of the things, if you're not familiar with McLaren, especially the Super Series, they have what's called a accumulator because of the hydraulic suspension. And you've got four, got two in the front, which are going to be behind here, and you've got one behind each of the rear tires. On the 650S, on the 720s, and some of the other cars, it'll be a little bit different. So this one's going to be specifically for the 12C, MP4-12C. I think it's the same for all coupes and spiders. What we're going to do here, and I apologize, it's a little messy here. I've been doing a lot of work on a lot of projects, is you're going to need four accumulators. I installed my son's radio and working on the Jeeps and other stuff. So let me open this up real quick, kind of see. Probably not going to take it out of the back because it's a little oily. Well, why not? Let's go and take it out. But basically, these eventually will fail. And what happens is your suspension, you'll start getting error messages like the PCC error, unable to change suspension modes. And what I'm talking about specifically is if we go into the car, right down there you'll see the active panel where you have the different modes. You've got normal, sport, and track mode, I believe it is. I can't see from here, for both the suspension and the driving style there. So basically you won't be able to go into any of those modes and you'll get an error. Now the first thing to check usually is going to be the oil. Make sure you have enough oil in there, and that is also tied to the power steering, so it's the same place. So just double check that you do have that, because sometimes, you know, as they start to wear out or get older, the oil will be low, and usually that's a simple fix, but it's also a sign that it's failing. So that's where you have to go and replace these guys. Normally there's no real way to tell if it's busted or not busted. What you have to do is, just to show you an example here, we can put this here. You see that won't go very deep, and I'm not going to push it because I don't want to do any damage. And you'll see on the, when I take one of the old ones out, that they actually go much deeper, because basically the membrane has failed. There's gas in the back of it, and there's oil, excess oil, that'll go in there. Once they fail, they take more oil, and so the suspension doesn't ride that well, and you can't change the mode. But thankfully I've watched some of the videos from guys like Sean at EMF and Kevin at Supercar Garage. Both are members of the Mac Medic, and those guys really know their stuff, really know these cars really well. In fact, a huge shout out to Kevin for providing the parts. He lives just down the road from me, which is great, so I was able to drive over there to pick up the parts. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out. I'm going to start with the front, although the rear is easier. I'm going to save those for last. So basically you just have to remove, hopefully it's not too dark in here, this pops off. It's just my rag. So you'll start, oh, by the way, let me come back over here. What you're gonna need is this 22 millimeter. If you can get a narrow one, that would be great. What I had to do to mine, as you can see, I had to shave it, because in the front, and I'll show you once I get in there, you've got very limited space between the actual block, the APMU, I think that's what that's called, and that's where the accumulators connect to. That's what manages the flow of the hydraulic fluid. So that range has to be narrow in order to fit in there. And so I took my grinder, just took a regular 22 millimeter and ground it down. You can't tell because I don't have a before picture, but it was much, if you look at the bottom here, this was much wider. So I'm going to try that out. I think that's enough. If not, I'll have to grind it a little bit more. So we are going to start by removing this. This is typically just Velcroed in place, and I won't bore you with all this. It's pretty straightforward. This just pops out. I'm just gonna force this back part out, and I will put this right down here. Then the next thing you got to do is, these are all, by the way, these are plastic. Most of them, I think these are metal up here, but most of these are plastic. You just got to remove them. There's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15, I think 15 or 16 in there. Pop those out, these little baskets or whatever they're called. You don't have to take the whole thing out, I don't think. You just got to pop this sucker out. And again, I can't thank Kevin enough over at Supercar Garage / Mac Medics for providing the parts and sharing his know-how, and Sean for sharing videos, as well as other guys out there, on how to do this job, because it'll save you a lot of money if you do it yourself. You know, all you have to do is the part and the labor. One of the things to be careful, which I'll show you later, is when you're taking the rear ones out, you're going to use a second tool, so you don't put a lot of pressure on the lines themselves, because you can break the line or twist the lines. So All right, guys, so actually you don't have to take this bottom screws out because you don't need to take the other half. Take these plastic ones. These are good. I used a T25, but it might be a T26 or a little bit bigger there. And then you have some down here as well. So you just got to undo these. These are almost all stripped out from what I've experienced before. Basically, every time it goes into service, you know, this is all cheap plastic. Unfortunately, McLaren cut some corners there. Or maybe it's to save weight. I don't know. Let's say it's to save weight. So just gotta take those out, and then we'll pull half of this panel out. I've got the panel out, so we're just gonna lift it carefully. And I'm gonna put it over here for now. There it is, so you can see it. And now we have access to the battery, and the accumulators are going to be back here. You can kind of see them. Accumulators are going to be back there, sort of behind the battery. So we'll take that out. Now, here's one key thing you need to know. When you remove, especially if you have the original battery, you need to unplug this guy first. I don't know why, but everybody's told me I need to. There we go. And put that out of the way so it doesn't get damaged. I'll stick it right back here. And then I usually like to do the negative first. You'll undo the positive, and then there's this little strap too that you have to undo that retains the battery in place. Kind of all nice and awkward and tight in there. So I'll put this down because it's hard to do with one hand, but unplug here first, disconnect the battery negative, then you're gonna have to undo the positive, the strap, and take that battery out, and we'll have access to the accumulators. All right, I used the 10mm socket for both negative and positive. We've got that unhooked. We've got the strap unhooked. Here's the positive. There's not a lot of room in these wires, so just gotta unhook this thing, and now we gotta lift that battery out of the way. Also, you have to undo some things down here as well. I think those are 10 too. It's a lot easier. I think I gotta get an extension. Basically, these hold the battery in place there. All right, let me remove those and we'll get that battery out. I think this one can stay, but I'll double check. There's also a small T25 right there, so 10mm to undo that, and a T25 right there. I forgot about one. This one's really fun. It's back there. That's a 13. So the front ones are 10. So I have to use a long extension with a flex one. This one is not that bad because it's pretty exposed. The one on this side is going to be much harder. So I've done this before once or twice, so I'm just refreshing myself. Get this out, and this will allow the battery to, I'm gonna see if I can just rotate the battery out instead of taking that one, because I do remember taking that one out and it was such a pain. It was such a pain. So that bracket comes out, and I think if I take this guy out, perhaps. That's what I hate when they use so many different sizes. I think that's like an 8. So all right, I couldn't get it out without that. Maybe I could slide the battery, but the bracket's too big. So just took this one. I just kind of moved this out of the way, and you can get your, you can see the hole right back there. Then you can get this battery out. So now we just got to pull around. Put this guy over here. These batteries are actually crazy light, which is nice. Like I can move it with one hand. Let me put this down for a second though, so I can, because literally you can move this with one hand. But we can now see the accumulators right back there. And now you can see why the wrench has to be, can you see that? It's got to be pretty narrow because you don't have a lot of room in there, and with the traditional one you're not going to be able to get in there. So let's get these out. These are really hard from what I'm told. The rear ones will come loose basically with little effort. These, I'm not sure why. Maybe it's the pressure from the hydraulic fluid, but they're on there pretty hard. So hopefully you can try to, it's righty tighty, lefty loosey as always. I already loosened it up, but you can see the tool. I ground it down, fits in there perfectly. It's gonna spill some fluid. This is normal. There's the fluid gushing out. And you can see the pressure there, how it releases. So, all right, so we gotta do some cleanup in here. You saw that in video, that thing exploded out actually. That's supposed to be under a lot of pressure. So hopefully we don't have another issue. Sometimes these guys, I think it's called the APMU, I could be wrong, but just a little oil. Might be normal. If there's failed, and when I added fluid, it could have put a lot of pressure up here. So let's try to get the next one out. Yeah, that fluid went everywhere. That was fun. I have to do a better job cleaning it up, but for now, let's just get these out. So this one you're gonna come down because it's, again, righty tighty, lefty loosey. This battery thing's kind of in the way. fluid out some more here. So I'll put the camera down so I can move this. Actually, let's see if that, there we go. There we go, that wasn't too bad. All right, so now I'm gonna be expecting, trying not to get my face. Can't tell she's turning. I think we're almost at the edge. Oh, here, there it goes. All right, that wasn't too bad. So I was ready for it this time. And it is gonna get that fluid everywhere, so just clean it up real nice. All right, let me put this down, do some cleanup, and we'll install the new ones. Old one. So we're testing, remember. I don't think it's going with the pressure itself. I don't think it's going to come out. Just got to clean up a little bit more back there. It's kind of hard to reach back there. We'll definitely have to do it from under the car, taking that underbelly out and then doing some cleaning, but I'll try to get all that. So now let's go to the rear. All right, so now I just got to reassemble back together. Don't plug anything back in just yet. But this way we get this stuff out of the way. We'll put these holders back in here, and the strap, don't forget the strap. I already tightened everything back there, so just gonna put the front end back together real quick. Cleaned up as best as I could. I think I got most of everything. We'll get this up on a rack and try to clean out the rest of it from underneath. It's kind of hard to do it on the floor. Got almost all the battery back in here. Always got to do this strap. I like to just do it like this instead of putting this in first and then trying to strap it in, because I think last time I tried that, it was really hard. There's no way to get a lot of slack in this thing in here. And this is a tiny little 8. So we've got all this put back together. Now I'm going to move to the rear. Like I said, I'm not going to plug any of this stuff back in yet until I'm done with the rears. Alright guys, I've got the rear jacked up. I'm just going to do one side at a time. I do have the quick jacks, but it's so much work and I've got a bunch of crap there from the boat. So I've got the last one here. I'm going to take this off. Then you gotta take the inner liner, fender liner out, and I believe there's a electrical connection for the TPS pickup sensor, so just be careful when you undo that you don't break anything or rip those wires out. Can we admire these carbon ceramic brakes for a second? These are the rear ones. The fronts I believe are 15.5, 15.6 inch, which again for a 10-year-old car, pretty impressive. Rear ones I'm gonna say they're 15th, I can't remember. I think it's like 14.9 and 15.5 in the front, something like that. There's the coilover suspension. By the way, you can actually lower these yourself. You see these little grooves? You can move them, but this thing's already so low, and you've got these like air splitters at the bottom. Any lower, I would just be afraid that I'm gonna be scraping everywhere. There's a lot of speed bumps where I'm at in shopping centers and other places, so I think I'm good at the height. All right, so now we gotta remove the liner. There's a couple bolts there. I think those are 10. I'll double check. We'll get those out. I think I'm missing one down there. And then this thing right here, I think that's what holds that sensor, the TPMS sensor or some sort of sensor in there that picks up from here. So let's get that liner out. And I believe what we want access to is right up here somewhere, but we'll double check. All right, we got a crap load of these bolts out. I think I got all of them. The sun's like shining in my face, so now I'm struggling to see. Actually, you don't even have to take this off. Just unplug it if you get enough room. You press, there's a little tab. You press, kind of hard to see. Right there. And just kind of wiggle it, jiggle it, and it should come out. So now, boom. And there is our accumulator. So I'll get some rags because I don't want it to shoot up everywhere like the other one did. Learned my lesson on the other one. You want to know what's really cool in here? Look at the rear brake intake. It is carbon fiber. This is why I love this car. These little nicks you find everywhere. I think it's really cool. Let's give you a little inner workings. But yeah, that little duct is carbon fiber, which is nice. And the tub, as you guys know, the monocell, also carbon fiber, which makes this car very light. The rest of the stuff is aluminum. Here, one of the things you want to do is you want to use 2 wrenches because you don't want to break that hydraulic line. Although they're strong, they can be pretty fragile. So you're going to use one to hold this and keep pressure on it. Actually, I think I need a smaller one. 22 is the actual, but I'm going to need, that's probably an 18 maybe. So let me see what wrench I need for that real quick. But yeah, you're going to want to have one to hold that line in place as you torque up. Again, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So you're going to go up on this one. Actually, you're going to go down on this one to loosen it up. So you're going to want to have a wrench countering all that torque so you don't bend or break those lines. So we got the rears done. This actually was pretty easy. These are not on there very tight. It's when you put it back on and you tighten, which you don't have to do a lot of tightening, that you're going to want to use that wrench. But either way, just use one for precaution. Put some rags. This one actually didn't squirt anything out. So here comes the big test. Are these the bad ones? Because the front ones seem to be okay. This one's actually making a little bit of noise, which these are not. So I'm guessing these are the culprits. These actually look new. McLaren of Charlotte had done these. They recommend doing all four, but I think they only did the front ones. Still about the same, but this one doesn't sound. See, when I shake these, that's my glove actually making noise, but no noise. This one makes a little bit of noise. Maybe they're supposed to do that. Wow. Hopefully it's one of these. I can tell there's something funky on the inside of these. Those are solid. This one has definitely some play. All right, we'll see if it's the other side, if it's not these three. But these just look newer. Maybe it's the rear, a lot more dirt, but these just look a little bit older. So let's check the other side. All right, we got the third one done. The new ones don't rattle like the other ones, so I'm guessing something is broken with those. And like I said, the rear ones definitely look a lot older than the front ones. So I'm hoping this will fix our PCC error and be able to shift back into all the different modes, which are awesome in this car. You get to plug in your TPMS sensor. A lot of people forget to do this, even the dealer sometimes. And then you're gonna get an error, so just kind of reach the cable. Don't have a lot of room, but just reach in there, plug it in. I don't know if you can see, it's too dark in there. But yeah, don't forget that sensor, and then just put everything back together and we'll do the other side. All right, we got this side done. I torqued the lug nuts to 100. That's about what I could find on the forums. Put the liner back together, lowered it, so we're gonna do the other side and we'll be done here shortly. All right, I've got the other tire off. The liner, didn't want to show you the same thing. The steps are pretty much the same. They repeat. And we are ready to do this one. So, just gonna put that there. I already loosened it up, but yeah, these are not very tight at all. Try to get this in line. I think the pressure in the lines is pretty much all gone. You can see it leaking right there. So just have your rags ready. And let's go test this guy out. So there's a little lawnmower noise. The neighbors are getting their yard done. Where is my tester tool? Ah, here it is. So let's test this guy. Yeah, they don't feel like they're broken from the test that I've seen, but they do rattle quite a bit. So I'm hoping that's what it is. Otherwise, yeah, see these? Probably not gonna hear it on camera very well. And the new ones didn't do that, so just gonna get that fluid out of there. Yeah, they don't feel as solid as the new ones, but from the test that I've seen, typically this will go in a lot deeper, but they all feel the same. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. The noise, like I said, you don't hear it in the new ones. And all of these except one, this is the only one that doesn't rattle. See, all three of those rattle except this one, and the new ones don't rattle either. So let's put that last one in, and we'll top off the fluid, do a couple of drives, and see if it gets better. All right, we've got all of that put back together, the front end put back together. One last thing, you're gonna need CHF 202. Some other folks use a different brand, but this is readily available at my AutoZone. Pentacin CHF 202. That is what the owner's manual also recommends. You're gonna have to top it off. Go drive it first. The fluid will go in here. Make sure you turn the wheel all the way full lock, left to right, and try to get some of that air out. You're probably gonna top it off 3 to 4 times as you drive it, and the air comes out of the line. So at McLaren, I believe they have a bleeder tool so they can get the air out, but it's hydraulic fluid, so the air will work its way out. So just check this guy out. You're gonna want to fill it up to about where the top of the little basket is right there. So just top it off, drive it, top it off until you don't need any more. Don't over fill it. And I'm gonna go drive it, see how it runs. All right guys, so we are done replacing the accumulators. Might be a little loud in here. I'm driving it. I topped it off a little bit. When you first started, you're gonna get, and I'll show it on screen there, You're gonna get a couple of PCC errors on this screen right here. You're gonna get mode change not allowed. Basically, the active panel will crash and it'll be off. You won't see the little orange light around it. And if you look on this screen right here, that might be too close, but that's basically where it'll change modes. If I go to soft normal, for example, you'll see handling to normal. When the accumulators are bad, you're not able to do that. And so, you know, the car will ride pretty harsh. That's typically how you know that the accumulators are bad. It'll ride like it's on track mode the whole time, or it just won't change on the mode. It won't let you turn on this active panel, or it'll crash as soon as you turn it on. Just traffic here waiting to go out. But yeah, it seems to be working. It might throw a couple errors when you drive it. Just keep driving it, turn it off, turn it back on. Turn the wheel all the way left, all the way right to full lock until eventually starts working. And the air, it's gotta bleed some of that air out of there. And then check it after a few days. Don't overfill it. Just check it to make sure that the you know, the fluid is right at the top of that little white basket that's in there. Sometimes you have to add a little bit more because the fluid kind of sits on top of there. But it's actually low, so just make sure you add a little bit more. So let me show you once again. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in sport and it'll change. Before it wasn't able to do that. This part you can, you know, powertrain, that's usually not a problem. Normally that'll work even if the accumulators are bad, but when the panel starts crashing, you can't use the active aero, you can't use the manual mode, so it's a real pain in the butt. And but yeah, so I'll put it in once I get straight. You also want to be driving straight when you change the modes. I'll put it in track mode and see it disables the traction control. But there it is, and now I can downshift. Oh, I love that sound. That's 80 kilometers, by the way, well within the speed limit, no problems there. But yeah, that's all it is, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, drop them below. I'll try to answer as best as I can. I'm learning a lot about this car, thankfully. You know, I've made some really good friends with the car lately that know these cars really well, and they're sort of guiding me along. So anyways, just sharing some of that small knowledge that I have in case you guys have one and want to learn to do these things. So see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.